I am Wilhelm Helsingius, and I have psychology and cognitive psychotherapy degrees. Welcome to episode 3 of the Love Unconditionally handbook. This section begins with the thought that relationships could potentially be a source of healing. A good relationship can support healing. It can give us a sense of being held, offer calm, and remind us of our worth and of something deep within us. Something we are that exists independently of everything else. Something authentic and steady. But what is it, really, that holds the power to heal us? The opposite is just as true. A partner who cannot meet us emotionally may not only fall short in supporting us, they might increase our stress, even hurt us. They may deepen our experience of distance and insecurity in a way that can shift our entire body into a state that is deeply unhealthy, the very opposite of what has the potential to heal us. A partner who acts out, who cannot bear or contain their own emotions, in other words, who cannot bear themselves, may, even without meaning to, cause us serious harm. Perhaps even increase the risk of us becoming seriously ill. So I invite you to pause now. Really pause. This is for you. Ask yourself, what are my emotional needs right now? Not just what I want, but what sustains me. Which of my emotional needs are echoes from my past? From how I was or wasn't met as a child? And which of my needs belong to this moment, to this relationship, this stage of life? It's not a weakness to have emotional needs shaped by your upbringing. It's simply human. What matters is learning to tell the difference, to know what comes from then, and what comes from now. Because without that clarity, we risk turning away from the very people who might be able to meet us. Not because they can't love us, but because we're still unsure what love is allowed to feel like. If you're looking for a partner, how do you know if the person you're spending time with can meet your emotional needs? Let me ask that again. Not because you didn't hear it, but because it's worth pausing for. How do you know if the person beside you can hold what you need most? Not what you want in passing, but what your heart quietly longs for. How important is it to you that your partner, or the one you're getting to know, can truly meet your emotional needs? Do you talk about these needs? And if you do, how do you do it? With calm, compassion and trust? With uncertainty or fear? And if it feels hard to speak about what you need, can you meet yourself with understanding there? What would you need to feel safe enough to try? Maybe it's a certain tone. A way of listening. A kind of gentleness, interest, and real caring. Can you name it? And then this, a question we often forget to ask. Are your emotional needs being met? And if not, how does that show up in your behavior? Do you shut down? Do you become restless, critical, withdrawn? Do you feel small? Invisible? Do you begin to demand? Or do you begin to act out? Do you accuse or blame? Now you can shift the focus outward. Do you know what your partner, or a close friend, needs emotionally? Do you know when their needs go unmet? Do you ask? Do you want to know? When was the last time you looked them in the eyes and asked, "Are you okay? Have you gotten what you need from me?" And when you do offer something real, something meaningful, how does it feel in your body to meet the needs of someone? Did you offer it without expecting anything in return? If not, can you sense why it is so? What might be getting in the way of giving unconditionally? If you're honest with yourself, what is it, deep down, that makes it hard to give without conditions? It's also important to remember that no one can meet all of your needs. No partner or friend. No parent or therapist. Nobody. Approach your needs with compassion and kindness, not as something to fix, force or demand, but something to understand, be aware of and to care for. What do we really need? You might be wondering what our needs truly are. Not just the obvious ones. Not just food or shelter, but the ones that live quietly inside us. The ones we sometimes struggle to name. Here are a few. You might recognize them. Safety and security. Belonging and connection. Somewhere we don't have to earn our place. Where we just belong. Love and closeness. Respect and recognition. To be seen. Heard. Taken seriously. Not in a way that feeds our ego, but in a way that reflects our worth. Independence and freedom. We need space. The freedom to choose. To say yes and mean it. To say no and be respected for it. Because love without freedom isn't really love. Emotional support and understanding. To be listened to. Not to be fixed, but to be understood. To have someone sit with us in the hard stuff without trying to rush us out of it. Intimacy and authenticity. To show up honestly. To say, "This is who I am." Without fear. A sense of purpose and meaning. To feel our life matters. That what we do, how we live, makes a difference. The way we show up for each other. Delight and spontaneity. We need laughter and play. The kind of lightness that reminds us that being isn't only about surviving. It's also about our ability to really live. Fairness and equality. To be treated as equal. To not be dismissed, silenced, or made small. So how do we meet these needs? First, by recognizing them. Within us, and within those around us. It's easy to assume we know what someone else needs. But what if we don't? How does it feel when someone thinks they know what you feel and what you need, without really asking? Can we care too much about others' needs? It's not about doing everything. Not about being everything. It's about noticing. Paying attention to what matters most right now. When we turn toward others with real curiosity, we also meet ourselves in a new way. We grow through reflection, through connection. We learn about ourselves in the mirror of someone else's truth. Next time you meet someone, a partner, a friend, try this. Listen with the intent to understand, not to respond. Be curious. Not about what they can be for you, but about who they are, deep down. After spending time with someone, can you say what matters to them? What they dream of? What they fear? If not, maybe you weren't really there. The same goes for the ones closest to you. Do you know what life feels like for them? What unmet needs might be shaping their words, their silences? When there's conflict or distance, what if the real question is, which need has gone unnoticed? And could it maybe be met with just a little more presence? It isn't complicated, but it does ask for something real. A kind of courage to care deeply, to stay close, not just to the other person, but to yourself, to what's true inside, even when it's quiet, even when it's hard to name. That's where connection begins. Not in doing more, but in being more present. The next time you meet someone, or when you go on a date with a potential life partner, or find yourself in the company of someone special to you, remember this. Everything the other says is connected to a need they carry inside. And the same is true for you. Before you meet, or while you're together, you can ask yourself, which needs, on a deeper level, are most important to me right now? Which needs might be most important for the other person? Which needs make me, or them, feel vulnerable? What could be important to avoid if one of us has a need that makes us vulnerable? It could be important not to dismiss or minimize the need, not to use it against the other one later, not to rush to fix it or them, and most importantly, not to make it about yourself, but instead to stay with their experience. Does it feel safe for me to be seen, truly seen, beyond the surface? Is the other willing and ready to be seen as well? Which needs feel urgent, either for me or for them? And why might they feel so urgent? Are they, or am I, trying to please? Are we avoiding something that truly matters to one of us? Is there a wish to appear perfect? To hide our imperfections and shortcomings? How do I handle not getting what I need? How do they? What happens between us when our needs go unmet? This isn't about finding or being the perfect person. It's about meeting each other where we are, with what is real. It's about seeing and daring to let yourself be seen, and about exploring whether your needs and your capacity to meet someone else's can coexist, and how the ways you each respond when your needs aren't met fit together. If both of you can breathe in the same space and find connection and acceptance on a deeper level, someone becomes right for you not because they meet every desire, but because they meet you where it counts. And together, you create a way of being that feels like home. But that only happens when there's space to be imperfect. You cannot know if someone is right for you without choosing to truly know them. Not just their habits, not just their favorite music or the way they take their coffee, but who they are when they're hurt, when they're uncertain, when they're reaching for closeness but don't know how to ask or to be. This begins when there is genuine interest, acceptance and caring. Real curiosity. A desire to see without fixing. To want to understand without controlling. And this only works if the interest is true. Not a tool to get what you want. Not a strategy to feel secure. Your ego may want attention, may want reassurance. But your heart, your deeper self, wants something more lasting. Compassion, safeness and closeness. Contact and truth. You might be surprised by how much begins to shift when you stop trying to protect and assert yourself. When you no longer try to prove, try to get or push. When instead, you begin to truly see the person beside you. With genuine interest. With care. With a desire to understand. Something happens when two people meet. Not in defense, but in presence. When both begin to ask, "What do you need?" Beneath the surface? And what do I need? In a way I haven't dared to name before? This is where real growth begins. Not in fixing each other, but in meeting each other where it matters most. If you want to grow together, really grow, try being curious about this. How do you each respond when your emotional needs go unmet? Do you go quiet? Do you blame? Do you pull away? Have you ever asked why? Why silence feels safer? Why blame comes easier than honesty and care? Why retreat maybe feels like the only way to be when your needs are left unseen? These are not easy questions, but they are kind ones. They open doors, not just to the other, but to yourself. And remember, no one can meet your needs if you have not talked about them. And no one can guess forever. So talk. Openly. Without blame or demands. Make connection the goal, not winning. Not proving or demanding. Just being there and being real. Again, the goal is not perfection. It's partnership. Two people are learning, supporting, creating a way of relating that feels right for you. A way of communicating your needs and your emotions that's shaped by who you are together. If you're not in a relationship right now, you might feel like this doesn't apply to you. But let me offer something. The more curious you are about a potential partner's needs, the safer they will feel with you. And the more likely they are to want to see you again. This matters now more than ever. We live in a time where the internet gives the illusion that options are endless. That the next connection might be just one swipe away. But this illusion, it can disconnect us from humility. From care. From daring to need somebody. From gratitude. We live in a time where somebody who wishes to find a partner can enter a conversation, or first romantic date, with a list of expectations. How should this person entertain me or serve me? How should they impress me, and what should they make so that they are worth my time? But it wasn't always like this. There was a time when we knew that we need one another. And because we knew that, we made sure we had something of value to offer. If you notice that your expectations are growing louder than your presence and real interest of the other one, pause for a moment. Ask yourself, is there a fear underneath? A fear of being seen? Of being vulnerable? Because here's an important truth. You cannot truly receive what you're not willing to give. So let the focus shift. Less on what you want. More on what you bring. May I ask, what is it that you can offer or give? Something that holds real value for the other person, not just for yourself. And how is it, do you give what you have to offer unconditionally, or is it more of an exchange? It's a beautiful thing when you're able to give and offer freely, without expecting anything in return. This small change can open a very different door, one that leads to connection, not performance. And I hope you won't forget that the way someone behaves with you often mirrors the way you show up with them. So instead of waiting for the other person to show up more fully, more present, more wonderful, or more like you or your ego wants them to be, what if you allowed yourself to become the version of you most long for? The version that feels like coming home. The one you are when you're more grounded, more present, more still. The one who doesn't need to be perfect, but is something real and totally honest and true. The one who understands that being alive and being with someone isn't about getting everything the ego craves, or what our thoughts insist we must have. It's about something deeper. A way of being that makes space for both you and the other. How good are you at recognizing which of your needs come from your past and which belong to your life today? Would you like to try something? Close your eyes. Allow yourself simply to be here. Present, open-minded. Without rushing. Notice your breathing. Gently breathe in through your nose and slowly out through your mouth. Now, imagine yourself walking backward in time, as if you were stepping down a staircase. One step, 1 year at a time. Take your time. If it feels okay, you can begin to move through the years a little faster, until you find yourself back in the home where you grew up. But take your time, do it with your own tempo. When you come to your childhood home, what does it look like there? What is it like to be there? Who is there? If you walk around a little, look into the rooms. Who do you meet? What is the atmosphere like? Where do you think you will find your mother? Or the person who was a mother figure to you? How does she seem to be doing? Would you be willing to pause there with her? How is it to be there with her? Whatever you feel and need, please allow yourself to feel and need what you feel and need. When it feels okay, can you then try to allow yourself to see both her good sides and her not so good sides? And can you ask yourself, did I receive what I needed from her? What is your answer? What did you need from her that you perhaps did not receive? Is there something you would like to say to her? And is there something you would like to say to the side in you that did not receive what you needed? How would it feel to tell her what you would have needed? How does she react? And how would it feel to try to meet her reaction with understanding? Whatever that reaction may be. Give yourself permission to feel whatever you feel. Whatever arises, let it be there. Let yourself need what you need. When you feel ready, you can gently distance yourself from your mother. If there is something you want to say to her, before you go, please, say it, and try to say it from your heart. When you are ready for it, you can continue to walk through your childhood home. Where do you think you will find your father? Or the person who, for you, carried that role? When you find him, you can ask yourself the same questions. What were his good and not so good sides? How did you experience being with him? Did you receive what you needed from him? Is there something you would like to say to him? Whatever feelings arise, allow yourself to stay with them, without trying to fix anything, without rushing to a solution. Just be with what is. When you feel ready, and only at your own pace, you can begin to return. Year by year. Until you are fully back here, in this moment. And in this day. Take a deep breath. And make sure you are fully here, fully back in this moment. Perhaps now, you have a little greater ability to sense which of your needs belong to the child you once were, and which needs belong to the life you are living today. With this deeper awareness of your needs, we can take one step further together. But not before you feel that you are ready. You can take a pause from listening. If strong emotions have surfaced and are seeking space within you, or if they simply need some time and space to settle. There is no rush. I hope you allowed yourself that pause. If even a small part of you felt you needed it. I want to ask you something. Something that might feel provocative. Especially now that you may be more deeply connected to what you truly need. But I promise you, this is not meant as a provocation. What I am inviting here carries a deeper meaning. And I hope you will give that meaning a chance. The question is, what do you think of the wisdom that says, what is truly valuable is what you do for someone else? Along with, the only thing you take with you when this life in this form comes to an end is what you have given to another. And if you add to these thoughts the idea that you cannot truly receive what you have not yourself given, along with, whatever feels missing from your relationship is simply what you have not yet offered. What feelings, what reflections do these words awaken in you? We live in a time so deeply centered on the self that I would not be surprised if your mind protests. Telling you I am naive, outdated, or even offensive to the modern, independent person who believes it is their right to realize themselves, to stand their ground, and to pursue the life they want. Even if such thoughts arise, which would not surprise me, I would not be surprised if your mind protests. Telling you I am naive, outdated, or even offensive to the modern, independent person who believes it is their right to realize themselves, to stand their ground, and to pursue the life they want. Even if such thoughts arise, which would not surprise me, perhaps you could pause and simply sit with these wisdoms for a moment. Wisdoms that invite a deeper kind of life, by making space for the part of you that longs to give and to love unconditionally. What if, paradoxically, when you let go of your grasp on expectations, when you choose to see the other in their most vulnerable needs, when you allow them to be seen and met without condition, you become the best version of yourself and move closer to what you most deeply long for. You do this not because you expect anything in return, but because you allow yourself the gift of loving and being who you truly are, at your core. At the same time, when the other receives what they deeply need, the likelihood grows that they will, in turn, want to meet your needs as well. Not because they owe you anything, but because that is our nature. When we are cared for, when we are nourished, we naturally want to share that goodness. We more easily connect with the part of ourselves that longs to give and to care. And simply put, a relationship will not grow unless both parts are willing to change and grow. This applies to both sides, equally. So how could we, gently, courageously, step outside our circle of comfort? How could we discover that changing, adapting, trying something new, is not a threat to who we are, but an invitation? How would it feel to give the other what they truly need? How might it change the way we see the relationship we are in, if we realized how simple it can be to meet the needs of the one we love? Even if you feel you are not getting what you need, ask yourself, what is this relationship worth to me? And what am I willing to do to significantly increase the chances that this relationship could become a place where both of us can thrive, no matter what our situation looks like right now? Often, we find ourselves in a relationship with someone who represents the part of us we once had to push away. Because as children, we didn't receive what we needed. Because of the adaptation we made back then, this act of hiding a part of ourselves, we will likely try to compensate with the partner we choose. Sometimes, we even find ourselves with someone who, in subtle or obvious ways, treats us like the parent who once couldn't give us what we needed most. This can lead to a relationship where our emotional needs, as the person we are, go unmet. Because you searched, knowingly or not, for someone who complements what you suppressed in yourself, your life partner may be very different from you. And so, they may not be able to give you what you truly long for and need. But that does not automatically mean they are the wrong person for you. For example, if you grew up being highly considerate, inhibited, and dutiful, you might have chosen a partner who is more relaxed, free, and carefree. Qualities you maybe longed for but had to distance yourself from. But the considerate part of you wishes your partner would be just as considerate towards you. When they are not, it can be painful for you. Still, your relationship makes sense, considering what first drew you to them. Alternatively, if you have a deep need for closeness, born from not receiving enough love, care, and warmth as a child, you might have chosen a partner who doesn't need intimacy as deeply. In the beginning, receiving all the closeness you needed might have felt overwhelming, even frightening. But over time, you may start to feel that your need for connection and caring is unmet. Does it make sense? Because many of us choose partners who in some way mirror the parent who could not meet our needs, we may believe they are incapable of giving us what we truly long for. But the truth is, this very person might offer the deepest healing, if we let them. Does that feel contradictory? It's okay if it does. This path is not simple. But maybe, instead of trying to understand it fully, you could just try the exercise and see what happens. This exercise is grounded in the knowing that when we give our partner what they most deeply need, healing begins. Not only within them, but also within ourselves. We learn to love ourselves by loving the other. We have a part of our brain, in the so-called older brain, that cannot distinguish between ourselves and the other on a deep emotional level. When we give something to another that meets their deepest needs, the brain believes we are receiving it ourselves. And so, our own wounds can potentially begin to heal, even though we are giving, not receiving. If you feel strong resistance rising within you, it might be a sign of a fierce ego, an old, heavy shame, or a natural fear of finally receiving what you always needed. All of that is deeply understandable. Moving toward a different way of healing together. Are you in a relationship where you feel unseen? Where your emotional needs are not met? Where you feel emotionally alone? Does it feel as though it doesn't matter how much you long, how much you ask, your partner still cannot give you what you need? You may find yourself wondering, am I with the wrong person? Am I choosing the wrong people? Will I always be missing what I most need? At those times, it's easy to pull away, to slowly give up inside, to step into victimhood, to blame the other, or to store your pain until it hardens into demands, anger, or distance. But what if healing didn't come through waiting? Not by hoping that the other person will change? What if healing began the moment you chose to give? Even the very thing you yourself have missed receiving? And what if you gave? Not to get something back, but as a free and unconditional act of love? As an expression of the care that lives in you, no matter how the other responds or fails to respond. I understand if your mind and your ego protest. This isn't fair. I can't. This would be fake. I would be forcing myself. To move toward means to connect with the part of you that truly wants to give, to consider, to care. The idea is not that you should move toward until you break. Not that you should sacrifice yourself. But that you open your heart, meeting the other in their vulnerability, for the sake of love itself. Because the love within you longs to flow freely, not to manipulate or control an outcome, but to honor the truth inside you. The longing to love wholly, openly, regardless of the situation. When you choose to meet the other's emotional needs without condition, when you tend to the parts in them that were once overlooked, something extraordinary happens. You are not only giving to them, you are also giving to yourself. You become the presence your younger self once dreamed of meeting. And in the giving, without demands, without conditions, you may find the healing you didn't know you were seeking. A practical exercise to move toward within your relationship. Choose a quiet moment when you both can be as present as possible. Answer 2 questions, one at a time. 1. What is something I deeply long for in this relationship? For example, to be heard. To feel that I matter. To feel safe. 2. What is one small, specific way my partner could show me this, could meet this need? For example, I would feel heard if you looked at me when we talk, and listened without being on your phone or interrupting. I would feel safe if you held my hand when we discuss something, or while we take our evening walk. That you support me and show trust in my ability to succeed with my projects. That you help with cleaning without me having to ask you to do it. Or that you don't just focus on getting what you want when we share intimacy. These are just small examples. No one can question your subjective needs. I encourage you to dare to name what you truly need on a deeper level. The one who listens, listens only. No defending. No explanation. No judging. Just presence. Just genuine curiosity. Then, over the coming week, you each commit to offering something the other person has wished for, through small but meaningful gestures, to meet the other's need. Not as a trade. Not with hidden expectations. But as a gift. A free act. A practice in the nature of love itself. Without losing yourself. And if it feels hard sometimes, that's okay. Moving toward is not about being perfect. It is about being there when the other needs you. It's a way to make care and love tangible, regardless of the challenges your relationship may hold. If you choose to practice this for a set time, try it for at least a month. Only after that, sit down together and gently explore. What has it felt like to give? What has it felt like to receive? If you judge the practice too soon, you may miss the deeper healing and experience it can bring. This exercise is also a powerful way to soften the ego. Of course, it can be difficult for the part of you that was emotionally deprived to receive the love you needed without conditions. But the more you understand this part with compassion, and still choose to give, as unconditionally as you are able, the more you may be surprised by what you experience. If, after genuinely trying, you find that giving only brings you more pain, it may be a sign that what you are offering is still bound in a hidden exchange. Not yet pure love, not yet genuine care. There is no blame in that. But it is painful, because in doing so, you overlook your own deeper needs. No matter what your mind or ego may claim. The more resistance your mind puts up against this practice, the more you stand to receive from it. Try to also remember this, not as a demand, but as something that helps you to have an open and curious mind. Whatever feels missing in your relationship is maybe something you have not yet fully offered. If you feel a lack of love, life is offering you an opportunity to love. If you long for more closeness and care, life is inviting you to offer more closeness, and to share your genuine care, compassion, and love. When you dare to let go of trying to receive, life will likely give you far more than you could ever have imagined. In the end, there are only two ways of relating: love or fear. Which one will you choose and strengthen within yourself and within your life? You've now reached the end of this section. And if this touched something in you, you're welcome to press the like button, write a comment, or maybe even tell a friend about this handbook.